Today, the hot sheet, we welcome Justin Fitzpatrick. Justin, I just want to jump right into it. First of all, just say thank you for your service and thank you for taking the time out of your day to day to do this with us. You were a television producer and you still are, but now you make bread on the content creator side, the social media side of things. Why did you make that jump? Is there something you saw coming? Like why did you make that jump?
Well, the jump was I was given an opportunity to create something for myself, as opposed to creating things for the network. So it was risky, and in order to tell the story, let me go full circle to where it kind of started off. But before we truly dive in, I do need to get something off my chest, a little bit of concern, because I need to be true to myself and be an honest person. I totally dyed my beard for this interview, so just need to get that off of my chest, so that I feel okay going in.
You feel more you. You feel
Well,
more
hey man,
you.
there's no shame in dye. The only shame in it would be, was it just for men or was it an actual product that was like free of all the chemicals like Ashley?
No. My wife's a stylist, so I'm
Okay.
sleeping with my stylist. So she gives me the full treatment. I get massage, head scalp, trim up, and then I was like, you know what, babe, I'm going to a podcast tomorrow. Let's throw some dye back in there, see how I look. So
Well, it looks
Love it.
great. It looks
just
great,
needed to
man.
be honest with you guys. Just trying to keep it all up front.
You look
It-
amazing, but even
it
more
looks natural.
impressive.
Because she's good at her job. I tell you, production, the last 2 years, and we'll get into that, but the last 2 years, I would say right when I left television, I had about a 25% grayness in my beard. And I think I'm probably about 85%. So my life didn't get less stressful when I left television, to say the least. And the
But
grades would prove it.
But even more impressive than your beard is your backdrop. Like where are you? Like what's going on back there?
Well, this is my home office. I ran out of space in the closet, and then I figured if I'm going to decorate my room, the other side is military, so it does make sense. But I decided I'm going to roll the dice, and now that I kind of work for myself, I can express myself without being as reserved. And I'm like, do I want to show the army side or do I want to show the wall side? And I'm like, yeah, I like the wall side better. So that's just one of my collections of guns. I'm a Texan and I'm also a veteran, so that's kind of second nature to me.
What's your favorite toy on that wall there?
I knew you would ask it. I don't know if I could easily say I have a favorite, but if I had to grab one for the rest of my life, that's the hardest question, because there's one up there for every situation, and I don't know if one does everything. So I'd probably go with the Scar 16. Long range, short range, but no, it's like having me choose which is my favorite child. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah. Do you remember that movie Red Dawn? Did you ever see that, Patrick Swayze? If that was happening right now, what one of those things are you grabbing?
I'm grabbing multiple. If it's Red Dawn, I'm probably going to grab the hunting one that's right there, and then the one below that is more of the battle rifle. Those two are actually, I'm grabbing that one. I'm grabbing the Scar 20 for long range, so I could hide behind a tree and not have to get involved. And then if I have to get involved, then that's me right there with the combat rifle. That's actually the rifle that the special forces use
Oh, wow.
on their deployments. Yeah, so they're fun. They're a fun but expensive collection, and I love shooting. So I go out to the range all the time when I can. It's therapeutic. I know that certain people don't have opinions on guns. Clearly I do. And I'm totally okay with that. If you don't like guns, then great, don't buy one. Unfortunately, if you don't like guns, you can't look away. So that's kind of my taunting nature, but yeah.
Were you always into guns or did you get into guns as an army?
No,
Army
I
kid.
didn't get into guns until the military. So I ended up being a really good shot with my rifle. And I was considered Hawkeye. And for those that don't know that, you have 40 targets, 20 in the prone position, 20 in the prone unsupported, or supported and then prone. And then I got 37 out of 40, which you're only allowed to miss 3. And that goes all the way out to 300 yards. And listen, I'm not a sniper. There's guys that can shoot 10 times better than me. I don't know shit about shooting, but I enjoyed shooting a rifle. Then I get back to the States and I start working with a SWAT team on a television show called Crime 360. And we go to the gun range, and 7 yards away, I wasn't hitting the target with a handgun. And I was like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. Well, I had been trained in rifle by the United States military, but I had never really been trained in handgun shooting. So it wasn't until then that I started to get into shooting guns. And, it's definitely harder to shoot pistols and it's harder to learn. And I got excited about that. It became something like, if you're an avid snowboarder, it's like hard to learn in the beginning, but then you slowly start to feel a little bit more comfortable. And the more comfortable you feel about it, the better you get in your training. So I evolved into handguns after the military. So I guess you could say all of that is prior service.
And
Wow.
you served 2 tours in Iraq.
Yes,
Right?
correct. Well, and let me be clear here. The first tour was with the United States Army. The second tour was with the money making Halliburton. So I was considered
Okay.
a military contractor. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that differ from service? Like, is it like in the movies, like you don't have backup, all that fun stuff?
You mean from when I was in the military?
Halliburton to actual military. Yeah.
Oh, $90,000 difference.
Okay.
And way better food and less military. It's like I ran a fuel pumping pod out in, I'm going to get this wrong, but I want to say Al Assad. This was northern Iraq. And we would get the fuel from Turkey brought in by semi trucks on a daily basis and fill up our bulk fuel pods, which basically, if you would imagine like 500,000 gallon water bed, and then you have 20 of those in a field. We would fill those up daily, and then we were running support for all of the missions in Iraq. But this was 2005. So when I first went in 2003, we were setting up our own camps. My unit was one of the first units that went into Iraq, not because we were Billy Badasses. I ran a fuel unit, and your vehicles can only go as far as the fuel stretches. So I don't want to make anybody think that I was like, a sniper leading the charge. No, we were just the guys going, hey man, we got your fuel, you do your thing. And back then we had to create our own bases. So I worked with an engineering unit, and we would set up massive berms and, dunes and everything. And then we'd set up camp and create a pumping station that would receive fuel and then pump fuel. And we'd go 15 miles down the road and get another launcher and receiver. And it was literally just, 1 foot in front of the other, slow playing it. So there was nothing out there. And then when I got the offer to go back with Halliburton in 2005, I believe, they had Kentucky Fried Chicken and Subway and Baskin Robbins set up in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, how do you even do this? So it was a world of difference. My first tour, I never saw ice, never had ice, never had anything cold. I had to, it's going to sound bad, but me and my battle buddy, he would pour a massive 2-liter bottle of water over my head for the first rinse up phase. And then we'd go back and then pour another 2-liter bottle of water to soap up and then rinse off. And that's how we showered back then. And then, 2005, you got steam rooms and gyms and, workout facilities, and like just the infrastructure that the military had put in that short 2 years. They built their own community. So for me, it was like, this is incredible to see what, our government can do in such a short period of time. Because it was, I lived in a Connex that's kind of, if you divide it into, like, there's a bathroom in the middle, and then I had my own room, cable TV, internet, laptop, everything. So it was a huge change from 03 to 05.
Gosh,
Wow.
Iraq feels so long ago, doesn't it?
I hate the fact that I'm now referencing stuff that I thought my parents were like so old that they would reference. I've hit that phase in my life where I'm like, these kids these days, their hair is so stupid. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm saying things like that.
It happens.
Iraq, it was just the other day. No, it was 20 years ago.
That's wild. Yeah. It feels like, I feel like so much has happened in 20 years. The world has just sped up fast in the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so much. Thinking back on it, I'm like, man, see, I feel like from the 80s to the 90s, there wasn't much going on. I mean, okay, we had the Y2 scare Y2K scare, you know, like all the world's going to shut down. And then there's nothing happened. But then, you know, '01, it's like towers come down, and a year and a half later, we're at war. And it wasn't until what? The last administration, midway through, that we actually pulled out the troops that we sent in the first place. Then you had the economy crash. I mean, it feels like the 2000s were definitely meant for the history books to write things down in, where, and maybe it's because I just wasn't aware when I'm, you know, a kid riding on a bicycle with a baseball card in between my spokes to try to make the cool sound. You know, maybe I just
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
aware of what was going on in our culture then, but it doesn't feel like the '80s and '90s were as prolific as what, you know, '20s and 2010s have become, especially 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hell of a year. Jen actually still does the card and the spokes.
Yeah, then
Oh, you know, you still gotta be cool on the big wheel, right? You know? Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of the last 20 years, we've all been in the TV business. Um, Crazy, right? I think we got in TV at a very interesting time when cable was exploding and there was lots of job opportunities, and we were the kids on the front lines. I mean, you were in the army on the front lines and then also on the front lines of the TV frontier. And think about it, you've created so many shows over the years. But back to you being an EP, you're an executive producer, climbed the ladder, were kind of, you know, rang the bell in the TV world, and then you switched
for
careers.
years. Yeah, I guess I'll Quentin Tarantino this and kind of give the ending first, and then I ended up leaving television to go work for the Liver King. But to give that some context, because it was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, I had just been given my own television show. So after Live PD went down, in the middle of us being renewed, I went and found a show, surprise, surprise, that allowed me to work in Houston as a local, and worked on that show for 3 seasons. And then that show got a spinoff. And then my EP said, "This is your show." So I was like, hell yeah, this is my show. I get to build it from the ground up. And we did our first season. The show was called Texas Metal Loud and Lifted. And it's a build show. And we followed 3 different garages building some of the most amazing cars. In fact, I got to plug One Way Diesel for building the world's first ever diesel Lamborghini Cummins engine. And it was a huge success, really put them on the map. And they were good friends of mine. So I would say that I'm at the pinnacle, because you never know how a show's going to be received after you finish it. Even when you see the edit, you could be enamored with it and like, this is my best work. And if it's not received well, that's out of your control. So, I don't know. Should I back that? Yeah, let me back that up. So on that show, a guy by the name of Brian Johnson dropped off his Hummer to one of the shops that I was working with called Mob Mafia. They specialize in customizing Hummers. I get wind that Brian Johnson's Liver King, so I reach out and I'm like, hold up. If we're going to do some work on your vehicle, let us feature it. So then I met with him, talked to him about what this would bring, because he's like, "What's in it for me?" And I said, "Well, you want this done in an impossible amount of time, and we can't put this in a position to finish um, because we have to finish the television show. However, I'll make sure that we can get this finished if you are a part of this build and allow us to, you know, focus on it." He's like, "All right, I'm in." So we do the build for him. We drop off the vehicle. We do the big reveal. Bunch of sweat and testosterone and yeah boys happen out at the ranch. And I remember thinking, this was a nervous moment for me, because I'm directing in the field and I got to go meet this alpha male and tell him, no, don't say it like that. Say it like this. Um, but it went off without a hitch. The one thing I kept on saying to him was, I was like, so this is for Discovery. Can we please stop saying fuck so often? And I realized in that moment, the second I told him to stop saying fuck, he started to say it twice as much. So I'm like, okay, good luck, editors. You know, the show ends, the season ends. I never expected to be in contact with him again. I'm now on a hiatus where my show is ended and 4 episodes have aired, and I'm waiting for the network to say if we're going to get renewed or not. Because they said, give us to the 4th episode before we make a solid decision. And that morning, I wake up to a call from the company owner and the other executive producers who were overseeing the original, which was still in production. And they said, you've been renewed for season 2. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Because most importantly for me, that guaranteed I get to stay at home with my wife. I don't have to hit the road again. And that was the biggest thing for me is, I finally got to do a show here in Houston. And for the first time in 6 years, that would have been 4 years of marriage, I realized what it's like to live with my wife on a long, consistent basis. And I fell in love with it. My wife is my best friend. So for me, the biggest thing is I don't have to go back on the road again. I get to stay here and be with my wife. So I'm on cloud 9. I'm like, holy shit, it's one thing to get a season 1. As you guys know, one of the hardest things is to get a new season, because season 1's come and go all the time. So we get a season 2, and I'm like so excited. I don't know what I was doing in that moment, but I remember leaving the house to celebrate or I think maybe I went and got a nice bottle of wine to surprise my wife with when she got home or something. But I'm driving over the train tracks and I get a phone call, and my phone's plugged into my car. I hit answer and I'm like, hello, this is back in the day when it was okay to answer random numbers. Now nobody answers a random number.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Liver King here. And I'm like, what? Now, granted, I haven't worked with this guy in 4 months. And it was a one and done. And he was like, hey man, I've got a quick question for you. I'm working on some things and I've got some ideas. How would I start a production company? So I said, okay, well, if you're asking me, I would do this, that, and the other. And he goes, well, what if I wanted to do this? And I said, well, it just depends on what you're looking for. Like, what kind of format are you looking for? Are you trying to go create your own television series? Are you trying to create documentaries? Are you looking to expand your YouTube footprint? Or is this mainly for socials? And his answer was yes. So when he said yes, I'm like, all right, it's time to pull over. And I'll never forget that I pulled over into this dentist office. And he sat there and was just like, well, listen, here's a project that I'm thinking of. It's called 126 Ways. And I want to start breaking into the YouTube space. And you came to mind. And I said, oh, well, that's awesome. I'm happy to help. And he goes, well, no, I don't want your help. I want to know what it would take for you to come start a company for me and work with me. And I said, well, now, mind you, 6 hours earlier, I just got renewed for season 2. And I'm like, oh, this is just the worst timing and the best timing. And in my mind, I was grateful for that opportunity, but there was no way I was going to consider this in that moment. And I said, well, you've thrown a lot at me. I need to think about this. And I said, and of course he doesn't know or understand. I just got renewed for a new season. And I think the conversation ended there. I go home and I'm like, now I'm numb. I'm like, what the hell was that all about? I talked to my wife. I later called my mom the next day. I was like, you're never going to believe this. Spoke with my brother about it, I think a little bit later. And that's a sign right there that the fact that I reached out to my mom and then my little brother, I'm like, I'm actually considering this. Why am I seeking outside counsel? So he reaches out to me and goes, hey man, what do you make? And I immediately whipped back with, my CPA said I made this. I might have raised the numbers a little bit, but it's like my CPA estimates it at this. And he responds back with, well, I believe in one thing more. Let's meet and figure out how our paths can cross. And I said, well, I'm leaving out of town to go to Tulum with my wife on Monday. And this is Saturday, mind you. And of course, I'm in between seasons. I'm going to take a quick vacation with my wife when I can. In fact, I think I might have booked it right when I got approval for season 2. That might have been the play there. But I tell him that I'm about to leave and he goes, well, why don't you come to my house on Sunday? And I said, Mother's Day? ? Because it was Mother's Day. And he goes, yeah, we're at my house. So I go to his house, I meet him in his territory and not mine this time. So every single time before that, I had been directing him. I had been telling him what to do. Um, and there was a moment where he was just like, "So let's chat." And I'm not trying to interview you. And I interrupted him and I go, "But I will be interviewing you." And he leans back and just goes, "I fucking love that about you." And we go off on a conversation, and I had nothing. Sean, Jen, you know that moment where you already have a job, but you're going to listen to what somebody else has to say? There's
Yeah.
nothing more freeing than knowing you could be completely honest with somebody on an interview or a call, because you're not forced into making that decision, right? So I'm like, I've already got my season 2. I'm interviewing you, even though you're interviewing me. We're going to play this on equal terms here. And I'm not desperate, nor am I looking to completely upend my career at 40, 41, that I've worked so hard at. And mind you, I had just reached the pinnacle of what I had set out to become, an executive producer. Um, and we bonded. And what was supposed to be a 15, 20-minute meeting ended up being an hour and a half. And I fell in love with the spirit and the idea. And, it's like, dude, we build this, and you told me that you would love to make your own documentary about this. We'll already have the sunk costs into the infrastructure. Make your documentary on my dime. And I'm like, wow. So we shake hands. I leave. He's got a very long driveway. By the time I get to my truck, I have an official offer in my email.
Wow.
And he works fast. And so I responded back and I said, "I'm going to be on vacation tomorrow. Let me get some clarity and I'll get back with you." And went to Tulum, all inclusive, mind you. I'm supposed to be living it up, having a good time. And that first night I was restless, didn't go dancing on the beach like you should do in Tulum. And I woke up early in the morning and went out to watch the sunrise, which I can't remember the last time I've done that when on vacation. Um, and I just felt at peace. And in my mind, I'm like, this is a risk. And I said, well, wow. I said to myself, television's always going to be there. You could always go back. In that moment, that's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
But why not risk it? Because there's opportunity there, and you'll never know unless you attempt it. So I took a picture of the sun, and I texted to him and I said, "Watching the sunrise this morning gave me peace. I'm in." And that was a long, drawn out story, and I apologize, but the rest was history after that.
No, that's perfect, man. It wasn't long drawn out. That thing I was going to ask you, where was he at in his career? Like, did you know who he was? Is he kind of legend in Texas?
I mean, it's hard not to know who he is. Now, I had no social media experience. I think I have 400 Instagram followers. No YouTube experience. I've never uploaded a single YouTube video in my life, but it's impossible not to be up to date with current events to know, oh, that's that massive dude. Oh, that's the dude that does the steroids. I mean, it's impossible not to know that. I mean, he was very polarizing, but I've never been a person that follows other people that I don't know. Like, I'm not, unless, like I'm following you because I want to listen to X, Y, and Z or this, that, and the other. Like influencers, don't follow a single one, random people, models, fitness guru. I don't follow those, but I still knew exactly who he was. And I remember thinking back when we were interviewing him, I was like, man, I'm glad you didn't, I'm glad I didn't know you at the time, because I was the guy laughing, saying I knew he was on steroids the entire time. Any idiot would know he's on steroids by looking at him, kind of thing. So I will fully admit that before he got caught, and then when he did got caught, I was like, to my close friends in random conversations, I'm like, of course he was. Look at the dude. You look like a Greek god. You think you're not taking steroids and looking like that? So yeah, that's basically what I knew of him. And then of course, when he was on my show, I did a little digging to catch up with what's new in his life on his socials, but it's not like I did research on.
Well, the interesting thing about the drug situation, which, blew up as we all know, but I think there's such a stigma about steroids, whether you're using it for sport or just aesthetics. Nobody wants to admit that they're on drugs, regardless. I think people made a lot of assumptions about why he didn't say he was on drugs, but I think in general, there's nobody wants to admit that they're doing steroids. I mean, if you're a competitive athlete, you definitely don't want to because you're violating the rules. But if you're doing it for aesthetic purposes, why wouldn't you just be upfront about it? But people don't.
No. And I mean, I'll share my own personal stories with you, but I mean, I used to do steroids back in the day. Funny thing, I learned how to do steroids and I learned how to shoot handguns with the SWAT team in Indianapolis. I won't name any names, but uh, the first time I ever did steroids, um, I had been, I wouldn't say like a bodybuilder by any means, but I was a guy that would go to the gym. And the only reason I would go to the gym is so that I can look good in a tight t-shirt so that maybe I can get a girl's number. That was the entire motive when I was 28 and single and traveling around as a television producer. And
Love it.
then I learned
How'd that work for you?
it went well. Let's just say if I died tomorrow, I've lived a good life and I've had my fun. And now I'm completely happy with the fact that I met somebody that, doesn't ask questions about my past life and accepts me for who I am.
Perfect.
Great.
So, I figured out how to convert steroids. This was back in the day. And for anybody gearheads, this was back in the day when Trimble acetate was sold to veterinarians and farm keepers. If you owned a farm, you could order this on a certain website, but then you had to convert it. So nowadays you could order Trimble acetate on not even the dark web, on a random website, and they'll send it to you and you just pull the needle out, stick it in your butt, and you're good to go. This is back in the day where you had to order the pills, then you had to order grape oil, then you had to dissolve the pills for 2 days, then you had to mix it up, then you had to put it in the oven, then you had to wait till it separates, and then you had to pull out the water and then pull out the oil and put it in a new vial. And it took 5 days just to make steroids. And then you're like, all right, man, I guess I'm gonna, how much should I use? Like to here? Okay. How often? Once a week? No. Every day? Fuck. Okay. And so I started doing it and I noticed a change in my body within 3 weeks. And that inspired me to go to the gym longer and more often. Then I quit drinking. Like I was going out every single night with my friends. I was like, I can't damage my liver even more. And then I saw even more change. So I was in the homicide detective's office and I said something to the detective. This is probably 3 months into my cycle and I was basically coming off of the cycle. I said something to the detective and I said, well, I got to get to the gym. And she was just like, yeah, sure you do. And I go, what, you think I get this body by doing nothing? Being sarcastic, something along the lines. And she goes, no, I think you're on steroids. And the second she said that, I was like, I froze in fear. Like all of a sudden it dawned on me, wait a minute, she's a homicide detective and steroids are illegal. And if she's thinking that I'm on steroids, I could go to jail. I mean, you're talking back in 2009, right? And so it freaked me out. And then, about 24 hours later, after I digested the possible ramifications, I was like, oh, she thinks I'm on steroids. I'm getting big. And then the joke is, well, yeah, I'm on fucking steroids. So I guess the whole stigma behind that is I was a nobody. I don't want anybody to know. And I did 2 or 3 more cycles a few years after that. So, I mean, I dabbled in steroids for maybe 4 or 5 total cycles from my late 20s to early 30s. And my close friends, I would tell them, and I'd be like, dude, you need to do this, man. You'll get huge and this, that, and the other. But I didn't want anybody else to know that I was doing steroids because then there's this idea that if you do steroids, you're just going to get big like that. And you're a cheater. And it's like, you have no idea. I literally have to measure out my broccoli and chicken intake. And I have to wake up in the morning and take this protein shake. I got to go to the gym at this time of the day, sometimes twice a day in order to do this. Yes. Does it help? But to a person that doesn't work out and the person that doesn't do steroids, they just assume, oh, you just stick a needle in your butt and you're going to look like that. So that's why I was always secretive, about it. So you look at these actors these days and they don't want to mislead kids, and be like, you know, eat your protein, you can look like me. I mean, but you also have to do the steroids. So there's a stigma behind it, and I understand it. And to bring this full circle, I completely understand why, he would lie and then not want to tell people he's on steroids. It takes away from the focus of what the message is and what the point is. I mean, I myself was a steroid user and I'm a nobody and I don't want people to know about it. It's my business. I mean, if I'm a diabetic, do I need to tell you I'm a diabetic? If I take medicine for X, Y, and Z, it's like I don't need to tell people. That's between me and, well, you don't really have a doctor with steroids. That's between me and my dark web.
Steroids today, are they safer, say, than steroids back when you were taking them? I mean, has the
Oh, no,
science gotten better?
now. Like I said, I was like Breaking Bad, mixing it up in my kitchen back in the day. You know, um, I'm still on testosterone to this day, so I take TRT. It's the only thing I take. But steroids today, I think, are a lot safer. I know of guys that are on some cycles, and you could literally go to a website on the internet and order it and pay for it. And it's delivered to your house. And I'm pretty sure it's you know a lot safer, cleaner, and easier to get. And I mean, needles are legal now. So there, back in the day, needles weren't legal, so you would have to order from a different state and have it shipped to somebody. But back in the day, I think only like 20 states sold needles that you could go into the pharmacy or order online. Now you can just order off of Amazon. So there was a lot of things that really made steroid use back in the day a lot less convenient. Um,
And you can get it in places like Australia. I think it's very easy to get
Mexico,
steroids
go down to Mexico
there.
and get
Yeah.
and Winstrol.
And there's more over the counter PEDs, right?
So, well, PEDs, well, performance enhancing drugs. Well, peptides are legal now. And I don't know if you would consider peptides a steroid.
No,
And I
I
realized,
wouldn't think so.
what's that?
I wouldn't think so. Yeah. A peptide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realized after talking about this, it's like, I am not an expert and I was never a huge dude and I was never a bodybuilder. I want to put that out there. The biggest I ever got was 205 with single digit body fat. And for me, that was a struggle. I was doing a very low dosage every single time just so I can appear attractive to the ladies. That was basically my only motive for doing it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not an expert on steroids whatsoever. I'm just I've done enough that I could say, hey, I've been there, done that.
You were a true coxman. You were all in. Whatever it took to get laid, you were going to do it.
Dude, I was masking my insecurities by female accompaniment. That is my story. I was like, I'm an insecure person, but if I look good with my shirt off, I'll feel better about myself. And if I could date a hot girl, then I'll feel better about myself. And when you get older, you realize the shallow things that we do to try to mask our own insecurities.
And look how it turned out. You married a beautiful woman and you're happy. It's great.
Here's the
It
worst
worked.
part, Jen, and I'm gonna be transparent. I was living in Hawaii when I flew her up there. And that was the last cycle I ever did. So I had a six pack. This was when I was 37. It was the last round of steroids I ever did, but I was in Hawaii working for a year and I was like, all right, I need to get back into the gym game because my shirt's off all the time. And I was technically single. And then I met her. I'm like, no, you're the one. Flew her down there at the end of the show, proposed to her, come back to the States. Life is great. Never touched steroids again. And she got the best version of me in Hawaii with a six pack. And now I'm probably 20 pounds away from even being remotely able to show abs. So I feel bad for her. But steroids work, and it's how I got my wife.
So you went from
Oh
the
my
guy at the
gosh.
pool without a shirt to the guy that goes in the pool with a shirt.
Yeah, no, the guy, I'm dad bod all the way now, bro. I'm owning it. I'm 43. That is a past life.
Oh my gosh. So you came on board with Liver King after the steroid situation, and what was your mission? Like, he had all these plans, he had all these ideas and dreams. Were you trying to reshape his image? Was this sort of Liver King 2.0, or
I
what
don't
is that
know
the
which version of Liver King we're on. I think the last one was 4.0. I'm not sure. I mean, by the end of this conversation, it could be 5.0. I'm not sure, but Liver King's a huge fan of constantly evolving. If you're not changing, then you're not improving. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Liver King 10.0. And, I can see how that's a meme in and of itself, but, I tip my hat to it. The menu never clearly stated to me ever once, like, fix my image, right? That was always my assumption that I'm being brought in to replace this media company out of LA that represented him. And they had a very high price tag um, for once a month trips down to Houston. And my goal was is to be able to create a team here in Houston that can be dispatched whenever he wants. And there was always these milestones markers. It's like, once we do this, then we can support the companies for advertisement. Once we do this, then we can create this website for that. So there was this baked in idea that if there was a team here in Houston that worked under him, his brand, his company, we would be a lot more efficient. So that was goal number one. Not once did he ever say, I need to change the court of public opinion. That was my goal. I wanted to change what people saw about Liver King based on what I read and was reading on the internet. So to give context to that, there's
so because he was different than who you knew him,
yeah.
and what people were saying and was different.
To give context to that, the character Liver King is what you see on social media. The Brian Johnson, the guy that I am friends with, is somebody completely different than that. So he welcomed me into his family, his household, had dinner with him. My wife is friends with his wife. And that guy right there is worth every bit of effort I can put into showing the world that image, and I get that social media is social media, people are going to think what they want. And one of my metrics when I came in is I was reading the comments. Now, mind you, I knew nothing about social media. I knew nothing about YouTube. I knew how to bring a team on. I knew how to lead a team, and I knew how to tell good stories, right? So I had those three things working for me, but everything else I was working uphill. So first things first, get a really good social media manager. All right. Somebody that's going to tell me about algorithms, give me feedback on this, that, and the other. Like, I could not have done anything except assemble a team. It was the team that killed it for me to be successful with him. So I'm getting every single month, we're growing. So to that social media manager, his metric is what we're doing is working. Okay. Algorithmically, if that's a word, uh, he's looking at a spreadsheet going, this is good. I'm looking at comments going, no, it's not. And I learned you're always going to have haters, no matter what if you're preaching about this, if you're saving cancer, somebody's going to say, well, cancer is good sometimes because, there's always going to be those people, but it should be, this is my own metrics, like 80% positivity, 20% negativity. And when I took over, I was seeing 80% negativity and 20% positivity.
And that's still considered positive? Like, that's still considered a good algorithm?
Oh, no. These are my metrics. So
but the social media person thought that was.
He goes, as long as their engagements, that's all that matters. That's his response to me. He's like, we want shot content. We want engagement, because the more people engage, the more the algorithm puts it out there. And my pushback was, yeah, but if it's all negative, we're not on the right path. At least for me, and where I'm hoping to portray Brian Johnson, as this incredible guy. And listen, this was a learning experience for me. I had no experience in this, and I can't tell you if the formulation that I created in my own mind is right or not. But if my goal, because it is so easy to make viral content with, and just so everybody knows, I call him LK. So if you hear me say LK, that's Liver King.
I was going to ask him if you call him Brian or Liver King.
No, I call him LK. I've called him LK since we first met. And it's funny because now everybody calls him LK, and I'm like, yeah, that came from me. You can't not make viral content with LK. I mean, I didn't make the guy any more famous. The previous company, the media company, didn't make him famous. They just provided a platform, and the guy went parabolic. The guy, you put him in front of a camera with the shirt off, and you're going to get content, especially in the fact that he eats raw organs and liver and all that type of stuff. Like, it doesn't take a genius to make his videos successful. He would have done that with or without me. So what I wanted to focus on is how do we create entertainment, value, and show a better side of him that is more, because the previous company was, and I don't want to get into them too much, but the previous company was trying to stay relevant and coming up with, in my opinion, more damaging content about his image, but chasing virality. And of course, you're getting more views, but at what cost? And so, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a saying like, when you chase virality, you become cringe in social media. So you're,
Yeah.
what's that?
Oh, no, I was just going to ask you, like, with all this viral and all this negative and negative versus positive, what was your retention rate at that time? Like, were people watching the whole video? Were they
We've
clicking off
always,
after 6 seconds?
so, well, I mean, there's a difference between social media. So we played around with the metrics on that for a long time. As long as you have a good hook, most people are going to watch 15 seconds. 30 seconds, you're starting to lose people off, and 1 minute better be great. But with social media, it's different than, sorry, let me be more specific. With TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, it's very different than YouTube. YouTube is all about AVD, which is your average view duration. So very, very different. So with social media, I mean, I don't know if we could even see if people are watching all the way through. On a 15-second video, they stop and then they pause. I'm not sure. I've never looked at those metrics because it's just not something that they go off of. And again, Instagram, you don't make any money. There's no money to be made in Instagram. Instagram is, you grow your platform and then you put out sponsorships, or you put out advertisements, or here, click the link below, use my code Katie at 15% off. That's how you make your money through Instagram. So there was never any money we never made money in social media. That was never the goal. And what the man paid for every single month for an entire production team, with literally going into the red every single time, was incredible. Because this was never we were a cost center, not a profit center. We weren't there to make money. I think we did work with Snapchat. We basically took all of our stories from Snapchat and put it to a Snapchat channel, and they do pay. But I mean, that wouldn't even touch our crafty bill in a month.
But you're
Is
not
that
making
like
money from the socials.
well, I was going to say, is that Snapchat channel, is that like a fast channel on Snapchat?
Yes.
Is it?
It's
Okay.
there's a producers thing where you sign up that was only offered in the beginning for big creators, people that have like 2-3 million. And it was like, it has to be a minute long. And for every minute you make like 34 cents. And when people watch, a minute, you make it 34 cents. If a million people watch it, I don't know, what's the math on that? 3,400. So there was some money trickling in, but that was never the goal. It was never LK's goal to make money. We were never set out to go, I need to become famous, I need to be viral, and I need to make money. None of those things were ever a part of the conversation. It was always, let's get eyes on the content and let's put forth a good message. You could start off and go, let me put forth a good message. And if people aren't watching it, what's the point of your message? So it's like, it needs to have value. We need to be able to enrich people's lives, but it also needs to be polarizing, so that's really what we set out to do, with no end goal other than, let's try to communicate a message. 9 ancestral tenets. Now there's 10. I think currently there's now 12. But
Wow.
that was
Wow.
it.
Do you know the 10 ancestral tenets?
I know. Yes, I'm gonna wait on that one. I don't know if it's been publicly announced yet,
Okay.
because I'm not doing social media with him anymore. I still work with him and for him. But I'll let him put that out there. It's not my story to tell, but maybe there's 20. Who knows? the point is that the 9 ancestral tenets were always the Northern Star. Like, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And every single one of those tenets are very true. I've adopted a bunch of the tenets just in a daily life.
And what are they? Just in case, what are the
You
9?
asked me, damn it, I knew you were going to ask me. Okay.
I know a few of them. I know a couple.
Eat,
think.
shield, cold, fight, bond, sun. Oh man. Oh, I don't want to put.
I have it. Eat, claw, bleed, fight,
No, bleed
ancestral
is not.
wisdom.
That claw and bleed is not.
That's not. That's old.
No, it's not a tenet. I don't know where that was pulled up. Let me see.
Oh,
I cannot believe if he ever watches this, he's going to fire me.
You ever take the grass-fed colostrum?
Yeah, actually, that's a good one to take.
Yeah, I take it every day. Yeah.
Messed around with almost all of the supplements, and when I get them for free, it's hard not to.
Yeah, that colostrum's a good colostrum.
Sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, cold, sun, fight, and bond. Damn it, I knew that. So
it's okay. We'll quiz you at the end again.
I have a horrible memory. I need really good. I need a really good team with me in order to be successful, because they make up for all of my flaws. Well, I'll give you an example. So, like the cold tenet, I started doing cold plunges when I met him, and unequivocally, huge residual value to that. And if you've never done a cold plunge, I would encourage everybody to do that. I have degenerative disc disease, so my lower back goes out every once in a while. And the second it does, I'm getting 80 pounds of ice, throwing it into my bathtub, and I'm sitting in the bathtub for 10 minutes. And then outside of that, we would set up the challenge at the Barbarian Crucible, and we would bring in a ton of ice, like overflowing ice, especially for visuals, and we'd put the challenger in it. And after that, we'd break for lunch, and I would always have my suit, and I'd jump in. And now I have an ice bath, cold plunge at my office, and I absolutely love that. So that's a huge one. And another one that might sound goofy, and it's funny because I have a best friend that's from Austin that lives on the I would say the more alternative side of life. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but just like, I don't want to characterize, but he used to always be like, dude, you got to just take your shoes off every once in a while and go touch grass. And
you're earthing.
Yeah, you're grounding.
Earthing.
Grounding,
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, you freaking hipsters. And then I see the impact of it, and everything that LK preaches about the 9 ancestral tenets, he lives daily. And I look at this guy and I'm like, well, he's a millionaire. He's got a very successful company, and he is jacked at all times. Probably one of the healthiest guys I know. Maybe there's something to this. And he was right all along.
I mean, they're good things to live by. It's like, people need some discipline or guidance in their life, and they're good things to follow.
I agree completely. I just am embarrassed that I didn't have it all 9.
It's okay. We'll give you another opportunity at the end.
Don't.
Quiz you at the end. That's amazing.
I was going to ask you. You brought up the Barbarian Crucible. Is that something that you produce with them?
Yeah. So he had never really done YouTube before. Okay, he did, but it was kind of throwing spaghetti at a wall, and the previous company was just kind of throwing stuff out there, thinking that YouTube would respond to his content like they would on Instagram. And I'll put it to you this way. When I was brought in, we had 237,000 subscribers, which is good. It's actually really good. It gets you a silver trophy. When we stopped YouTube, we had 1.1 million. So I took us from 237,000. My team took us from 237,000 to 1 million followers. And the Crucible was something that I absolutely loved creating and writing. And more importantly, my best weeks, because we try to do one a month because they're brutal, but the best week was, all right, we got to be out the ranch this week. So me and my bestie and my right-hand man, Brian, we'd go out there, and set up the course, and then we would just sit there and throw axes and spears and shoot guns and jump in the ice bath like all day long. And then it was just the best. And I think the key, because again, we didn't know what we were doing. We were literally building the rocket ship after it had taken off. Like, we're going to create this course, and oh, you know what? They should collect a bullet. Well, what's the point of the bullet? Well, it's our through line. If they collect bullets, the viewers are not going to know what the bullets are for. And at the very end, they have to shoot a spinning wheel target, which has organs on it. Whatever they don't shoot off of the target, they have to eat. And then it's just like, oh, well, what if we did this? And then we did the first episode you had to break through a block of ice to get a frozen bullet, which how we froze a bullet in a block of ice was the most ridiculous thing ever. But more importantly, the first guy, Canal, it took 25 minutes. I'm like, this is boring as hell to get one bullet. And so then we sat in the creative room and we drank a bunch of wine and threw out ideas. And then I think somebody said, man, what if, what if he hunts goats? Like, you have to catch a goat. And I'm like, no, that's like, what are we going to do? What about chickens? And they're like, well, what are we going to do with chicken? I don't know. We attach a bullet to one of the chickens, because chasing chickens is hard. And the next thing you know, we've got a new challenge where, you have to be able to catch chickens in a pen within, 3 minutes, but only a few of them have bullets on their legs. Not all of them do. And it became so fun, to create it. And if you're having fun when you're creating something, the hope is that your viewers are having fun when they're watching it. So
Can you imagine trying to sell that to like a TV network? That's the beauty of YouTube, right? You can just do whatever.
Yeah.
I love the Crucible, and I felt, as we were preparing for this episode, I was like, our Jen's a national champion right now, bodybuilding, Olympic lifting champion, Olympic lifting champion. She's still doing it, and so here's the thing: I challenged her to a death match on the Crucible. But no, the Crucible is fun. I thought it was really fun, and I thought it was a really good way, because the episodes I saw, you had a lot of influencers come on, different YouTubers and such, and it'd be interesting too. Like, so that's not going anymore?
No. We stopped that a long time ago. In fact, we never got to get to the finale where the top 3 competitors go head to head in the Ultimate Crucible. We'd already kind of written it out and everything, and then LK was ready to move on to something new. But the secret sauce in that is I sat down and I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is going to be any good, but we can't have an average Joe come off the street and do it. What if we got other influencers to come? And then we allow them to have their crew film some stuff. But we also allot some time off camera that they can get their own content with LK, so we were able to fly in big names. I mean, we had, my favorite was JP Sears, because he's just like such a great dude. And still to this day, man, I look at him as he's an awesome dude. We had Eric. He's got 14 million followers on YouTube. And the idea was, if we could get these big name people on there, they're going to create content around LK of their own, which is going to create buzz about LK, which is then going to get eyeballs on ours. So how does this not go viral? And, I would have loved to have seen it do double, triple what it did. And it was a slow grind from 237 up to 1 million, but we got there in, I believe, only 5 episodes. And I was really excited. I was really proud of that project, because I had nobody telling me yes or no what to do, right? I had no network. It was like, whatever we wanted to do, we could do. It was the wild, wild west. And it's like, if this sucks, we haven't wasted anything but maybe some time, And if it sucks, our viewers will tell us, and we get to course correct on the next one. So it was just it was an incredible opportunity where all of us just had fun doing it.
Yeah, it looked like a fun one, man. When I watched it, I was like, oh, I want to do this, and when I saw it was like influencers and stuff, I was like, oh, the regular folk can't get on there. But but I loved it, man. It was cool.
I almost killed Jesse James West, and that's one of the things where I had to take a step back and go, oh man, I really need to. This can't be the wild, wild west. But he had previously come and done the Barbarian, with LK before I was around. It was with the other company. And his time was an hour and 38 minutes, an hour and 48 minutes, something like that. 1 mile with all the kettlebells and everything. He'd done the Barbarian, but he had never done the Crucible. Okay. Well, the Crucible's no different, just different terrain. But he did it at the end of August in Texas. And I didn't think about that, but to give you context, he wanted to quit so many times. And I'm like, you're not quitting. What do you need? How do we help you? We went through, I think, 30 to 40 bottles of Mountain Valley water, pouring it all on him because that's the only thing that LK drinks and will allow. Pouring it all over him, trying to cool him down. He's 200 yards from finishing and he's just like, I think I'm done. So then we pull out a tent. We don't show it on camera. We pull out a tent. We get some fans. We're cooling him down. And his final time was like 3:45. So it just tells you the difference. His first time was like 1:40. Next time was 3:45. The guy's an elite athlete, a huge YouTuber, massive bodybuilder. And he dropped his time by like 2.5 hours. And he was hurting the rest of the day. And that the Barbarian is the first thing that you do. And I just had to take a step back and going, all right, there's a 3-month block on when we could do this, because somebody could get heat exhaustion and that's on you, but it's on me. It's on nobody else but me because I was the arbiter of the whole episode. So that was a scary moment when you could take an elite athlete and they're almost at their breaking point. And it's just like, when it's 105 degrees with 100% humidity,
Oh, sure.
has a
I mean,
massive effect.
I don't know if you guys like the CrossFit games, but they had a heat index, I think, of 140 degrees on the field when they did Murph a few years ago, and all these athletes suffered from heat stroke. It was pretty awful, but it's real. That happens
Yeah. So we'll never, if we ever do it again, we never do July, August, September
in Texas.
in Texas. But we had Dan Crenshaw come on and do it, and he's a congressman and famous Navy SEAL war vet, and he came out there and did it, and he killed it. He beat my time, and he's 41-year-old congressman, or it was his 40th birthday, so he just turned 40, and so like for me. It was an awesome experience to be able to, one, meet these high-level players, because you better believe I took Eric and his team out for drinks. And I'm like, how'd you get to 14 million? What's the secret sauce? That kind of thing. So it was a good opportunity to learn. But yeah, that was some of my best memories is working on that to create. Because, everybody that works in television, I feel like we all have the same common denominator. We're creators, and that's what drives us.
Yeah, how did that experience compare to your TV projects, executive producing a show?
That's apples to oranges. I mean, it's a hard comparison, because what we were doing, television is so different. We were figuring stuff out in the field with LK, with no real repercussions, and it wasn't high stakes like television. Like, okay, you screw up and you go down a day in television, and that might be a $50,000 day, and now you're up against a deadline, and editors have to come in and pull overtime because, it's coming out and it's going to air at this point. And now we're approaching air date and you haven't finished the last episode and all this type of stuff. And there was never that pressure on this side of things. But also one of the things that I've learned is YouTube can be so rewarding with very little effort. Meaning we went in and my DP that I brought on, Garrity, we bought a whole slew of reality television cameras. This is what we know, and we had all these other influencers come in with their teams and they're using like FX3s with a stupid onboard mic running around. And I'm like, wait a minute, we've got shoulder cam FX9s with multiple lens changes. And wow, we did this wrong. And I'm like, what are you paying your editors a year? And they're like, oh, he makes like, I'm paraphrasing, but he makes like $40,000 a year. And I'm like, you couldn't get an actual television editor to do that for a quarter of the year, and it just blew my mind, the difference. Like if you're a good storyteller and you're charismatic, you can film yourself and become famous on YouTube. So we over prepared for our experience in YouTube and socials. Like, we thought that we're gonna come in and teach these YouTubers what's up because now you got some big wigs in reality television. No, it was the opposite way. It
Yeah.
was slices of humble pie every time their other teams came in.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That was one of the questions I had here for you. Was I noticed in the Barbarian Crucible that you had the FX9s and the shoulder mounts, uh, and so you kind of answered that question. And so that was something that you look back on saying, "Wow, probably would have done that differently."
Oh, every day was a learning lesson. I mean, the biggest takeaway is I was so grateful for the opportunity in this whole thing to do. I mean, I probably did a year and a half run with LK on socials, but to learn and most importantly, to make contacts with some really, really good people. A lot that, I would consider mentors in the space, even though they're half my age. And then to learn, like, th- being humble is a good thing, because I thought that I would come in there and, oh man, I'm a television producer. We're going to kill it in this YouTube space. And turns out it's a different world. Much like if the reality television producers try to jump on like a Hollywood movie, even though it's similar, it's two different animals.
Yeah, they really are, right? They're really two completely different animals. It's you're chasing that view, that retention rate, and like just even like for me, kind of retraining that brain from a television producer to content. It's you kind of get motion sick, right, with all the cuts. Like Mr. B started. I saw him on Colin and Samir, and he's talking about the 6 second rule. Never hold a shot for more than 6 seconds. They noticed within his universe, their views go down. They drop viewers really quickly if they're not constantly changing that shot. It's jump, 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 and it's really it's just a different world, right? I mean, it's for us as television folk, we gotta retrain the brain, as they say.
I call that the TikTok brain. And I've seen a trend where, here we go again, when I'm talking about the younger generation, but the younger generation has to have that endorphin, or I don't know what you want to call it, endorphin release, but they're constantly doing the scroll. And I don't have TikTok. I've never had TikTok. My wife does TikTok, and it's like cut, 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 next video, cut, 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 next video. So there's this constant, it's not reprogramming for them. It's us needing to reprogram to be successful in their world because they're the ones eating up the content. And what they depend on is, constant 6 seconds, 3 seconds, fast in your face, where we grow up with, No Country for Old Men, where it breathes and it's a slow zoom in and you're taking it all in full frame. And that's the thing that, resonates with us, where it's a different world. And I hate to say that it's TikTok brain, but if you want to be successful and reach a younger demographic, you do have to understand the secret sauce, and it's constant cuts, short form, get to the point, keep me interested. If there's a moment that I'm not interested, or I'm like, oh, let me look at all my thumb has to do is that, and I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because as I was researching for this episode with you today, watched a lot of Liver King stuff on different channels, and some of his content, like there's this video, this specific video where he has I think it was called band training. He has a rack with this bar on it, and he's got like 10 different bands. And then when you turn on the video to watch the video, it's a cool thumbnail. When you watch the video, it's like 4 minutes of just the camera locked on that rack. Nobody walks in the frame. There's nothing there. And I'm thinking, and I look down, I think I had 1.4 million views. I'm like, this breaks every rule of that quick jump, the quick this, the quick that. And I think there's this piece of voyeur, right? Like people they're waiting. When's he going to walk in? What's he going to do?
Yeah,
Like,
there are outliners to everything, but again, he's just polar. I couldn't do that with anybody else. I don't think anybody else can put bands around a machine and hold a camera. And that was him just setting up his camera and being like, all right, we'll see if people are interested in my life, and I'll just post this myself. And turns out, yeah, no, people are. I would say that there are going to be exceptions to every rule, but I think only LK can get 1.4 million views by setting up a camera in his garage and working out.
yeah, it
He's
was really
he's the
amazing because it
viral
was just,
king.
yeah, they had the viral thing. The viral thing. Has he ever? He to me. I grew up in the WWF F era. It's now WWE. Has he ever been approached to do that? I mean, he would be a
Oh,
great. I mean, he's just built for that.
every day, every day. I can't tell you how many, because I manage some of his emails and I'm like, oh my God, this again. Everybody's been like, bro, you are a character. And he rightfully so. He is. Like he would be perfect, but that's just not his shtick. You have to understand that um we could cancel his account tomorrow. He doesn't care. He doesn't depend on social media. He doesn't rely on it. Doesn't take a dollar in. Never done sponsorship. Doesn't need a dollar from anybody. He literally just has fun with social media. You know, it's like, hey man, if I could have fun, I'll have fun. If people care, they care. If not, I don't care. And he's a millionaire with $1 million businesses. And for him, it's like this. I don't need this to get to the next place. And I would love to see him in a WWE match. I think that would be amazing because he'd fit in perfectly, but he doesn't need to do that. And God forbid he gets injured in doing one of their stunts. And it's like, all right, now he can't train and now he can't be active and he can't go about living his life. So I would absolutely back a WWE match. It's just not his thing, but you're absolutely right. Everybody's been like, dude, you need to go to WWE.
He just seems
Does
so
seem
natural
like a
for it.
perfect fit. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
perfect fit. Like he has the persona.
Yeah.
It's real.
He's a larger than life character. And even when I say I'm having moments where it's Brian Johnson, like he's still so freaking polarizing. Like still to this day. So I meet with him weekly and he's like, hey man, can you stay later? This meeting was good, but I want to hang out with you. Yeah, absolutely. I got you. He's like, okay, meet me down in the garden in an hour. So I meet him down in the garden and yeah, he's shirtless, got his shorts on, no shoes, starts pouring down rain. And I'm wearing a polo and some khakis, whatever. And I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, fuck, here we go. Like he's just walking around. It's pouring down rain. And we're just walking and talking. And that's like, I'm with Brian Johnson, but even in this moment, you were so polarizing because you have this long hair, this beard that goes down to here, these abs that stick out, these biceps that have veins running down them. You got no shoes on. You're just walking in your backyard in the middle of a freaking torrential downpour. But that's who he is. And then me, I'm getting hypothermia and get the flu the next day. So there's that. And the
Oh.
worst thing is I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I want to join with him, but I'm like, I'm not fucking taking off my shirt in front of you, bro. Like, this is that. No, I'm just not going to do that. It's like, my wife, we went to a pool party, for Dan Crenshaw's birthday. And, my wife is like, I'm not wearing a bathing suit under my attire. And I'm like, why? And she's just like, because I'm not going to be next to Miss Barbara out at the pool when she's in a bikini. Miss Barbara is his wife, and his wife is fit and works out every day. And my wife's like, I'm not. And I go, yeah, you know what? I would hate to take off my shirt in front of LK. So I feel you. You get a pass. You get a pass. But he is so much larger than life. And the thing about him is, and I don't think anybody realizes this, is the guy stays bodybuilding competition ready 24/7. So, and Jen, you could probably speak to this way more than I can, but from my understanding is you have a bulk period, then you have a shred period, and then you have a get the salt out of your body period so that every vein and aesthetic is shown right before competition. And you're up there on the stage and you're dehydrated and you haven't eaten. And then you recover the next day with a pizza and everything. And then you do the cycle over again. LK stays stage competition ready for the last 2 years since I've known him. And it's like, that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean that's no joke. That's real hard work. Drugs or no drugs, like you actually have to work very hard at that as well. Has he performed? Has he ever done a bodybuilding
We used to do
competition?
CrossFit games. He used to do CrossFit games back in the day before business took over his priorities. But I mean, you look back on the photos of him when he was 18 years old and he was shredded and big at 18. So, I mean, I laugh when everybody's like, yeah, fake implants. I'm like, look at his abs when he was 18. They're basically the same thing. It's the most retarded thing I've ever heard. But I did ask him. I was like, hey, bro, are they real? And he was like, "Shoot, idiot."
That's
That's
so
funny.
funny. Yeah, but sometimes abs, they protrude sometimes, on certain people. That's just your biology.
Yeah. And growth hormones can exaggerate that.
Sure, for sure. But you
Well,
still have to work. You can't just take drugs and look like that. You still have to work hard. There's no doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
you know, Untold. Are we okay to talk about Untold for a minute? The
Oh,
Netflix doc.
I'm going to untold you everything.
Okay, I was going to ask. So when did they come into the mix? How did they come into? Was that before your time, or
No,
was
no, no,
that?
no, no. I would like to take credit for that being a catalyst. Um,
And what is Untold? Then Netflix doc, right?
Go ahead, Sean. Let's hear your opinion of what Untold is.
Yeah, so Untold is a series that Netflix does. They have a few different uh subjects that they do this series on. It's kind of almost like an ESPN 30 for 30 type of thing. And I don't know that Untold is strictly athletes, obviously, but it's Untold is just it's a Netflix series, is the way I understand it. And one of the chapters, one of the stories they did was on Liver King.
Yeah,
Is that what it
they
is?
did Jake Paul right before Liver King. And originally it was never Untold. So long story short, we get approached with a Netflix documentary, and LK's like, "Well, do you think we should do this?" And I said, "Well, let me do some research." And I'd only been there for 2 months, maybe 3 months. I said, "Well, let me do some research on this company." So Campbell Media was the company. I did some research. The president of Campbell Media was once the president of ABC or the creator of the Good Morning show. I couldn't remember which one it was. Don't quote me on that, but solid background. So then I start doing research into what he's created, and I'm like, well, this is a legit, you know, company out of the UK. Right? These are solid people because LK had been approached multiple times before. And what they did that anybody else was different is they already came with pre-approval from the network, pre-funding from Netflix. So they didn't have to shoot a pilot and they didn't have to do proof of concept. They're like, if you agree to this, we're ready to go. So I told, okay, man, get my stamp of approval. And what he said was, well, dude, we have a media company now. What's stopping us from doing it? And I instantly said, I would love to have the honor to do something like that, but we're not in the same category as them. We just assembled a team, but what they have is experience in a very specific genre. And they already have the blessing of Netflix, and it'd be pretty hard to skirt that. My recommendation is if we're going to do it, then let's do it with this company. And he and his business partner at the time talked about the pros and cons and what they could do. And um, probably into December, they had made the conscious decision to move forward with it. So, but when they started filming, it was just supposed to be, long form documentary. And then once it went into the edit, it's my understanding that one of the EPs came in and saw it and was like, I want this for Untold. So the format changed a little bit. And where it was going with the vision of the director had to fall under more parameters to fit the series standards for Untold. So, i.e., documentary.
Yeah, where you went wrong, man, was trusting the Brits, right? They're taking off our work over there, man. Don't let them come to Texas and take it.
No, dude. And they're coming out with some of the best material too. They have some of the best docs. So, I mean, what was it? Planet Earth, like all of their series, all done by Brits. I'll get in. I'll be watching the documentary at night, and then the fourth wall is broken by the producer all of a sudden, and they're like, "What would you think about that, mate?" And I'm like, "Damn it! It's another British company that's taking our work."
Yeah. No, they do. They're great storytellers. I've worked with a lot of
Yeah,
Brits,
they are.
and
And
yeah,
and
great stuff.
much respect to Joe and his team. They were professionals, and I was really impressed.
That's Joe Perlman, the
Yeah,
director.
yeah, I was very lucky again to be in a situation where I got to watch and learn. Now, I had nothing to do with the show at all. There's not a single thing that was put in there that I had a hand in. My name's not on the credits. I have no association with them, but of course they're on location with us like we are on a daily basis. And it was really cool to watch them work.
Wait, were you in the film? Were you in the opening scene? I swear I saw you in that opening scene. Are you wearing a banana
Chicken.
suit or something?
You
What are
never
you
go
Yes,
full retard.
that's
what?
right. That's
You
right.
never go full retard. Yeah.
I was like,
I
I know that guy.
I called Joe up and I'm like, really, dude? Really? He goes, you wrote that knowing we were filming this. What did you expect, mate? And I'm like, yeah. It's actually the opening line. The opening line is me yelling out, ready when you are, okay. And then okay starts pulling the truck. And then yeah. So I have to give kudos to Garrity, our creative director. And he goes, we started writing out this thing where it just evolved and evolved and evolved. And um, we really did shoot it because we knew Netflix would be there. So we're pulling out some of our best material to do in front of them. And I thought it was hilarious until I put on the chicken suit and I'm a drumstick. And it just dawned on me, we didn't really think this through because Netflix is filming us and you're a strip of bacon, you're an egg, you're a T-bone, and I'm a drumstick. That's when I quoted the Robert Downey Jr. line where you never go full retard, and we've gone full retard. And the funny thing is I got wind that the network put a stop to that. That was one of the things that they demanded taking out. And in that meeting, I'll leave names out of this. A person, a part of that show, literally in a Skype thing goes, I had a feeling you would say that. Boom, pulled up Netflix, pulled up the Tropical Thunder or Tropic Thunder, and then hit play. And it's Robert Downey Jr. saying this exact line. And it goes, this is on your platform right now. He is quoting a funny movie that you're playing. And it ended up staying in. And so the funny thing is I'm like, listen, you can't cancel me. I have no platform. Like, I don't want to be construed as a guy that comes across offensive like that, especially when I'm just quoting a funny movie, but I'm like, this is how we're opening? Okay. Okay. And then I'm never to be seen again. It's just like Justin in a chicken suit, and now we don't know who he is.
You know, I was say when you chose not to do it in house, the documentary, you know, that piece. I know I'll speak from my own experience. Like when the person writing the check is also the person that I'm filming, I find that to be a challenge, and especially when you're telling a piece like that. I think on just my opinion, on your behalf, you know, you making the call saying let's let these guys do it because they've got it all in place and whatnot. I think that was a smart decision, right? I just find there's always challenges when when the person writing the check is the person that you're filming, that is the subject matter, right?
Great. Like, how do you tell him not?
Yep.
I mean, you figure out ways cleverly, but it's I didn't say no to that for that reason. I was focused on building a company, and I knew that um, that somebody could do it better. Even if I was at the helm and I was going to take this over, and I had the perfect team lined up, there's just people that are better than you. And if this was going to be represented, because you know at this point he's my friend, you know, like I want him represented in the best light. You should have the best people. It's probably not me if you want this done right. Now, could I take a good swing at it? Absolutely. But if you want this done right, let's go with the pros.
That's amazing. Because Joe was experienced doing feature films. Is that what you mean? Like we've done more.
Well, I did research on the company. So you don't know who's assigned to you until like a week before they come down. All right. So then, you know, Joe comes down and, you know, through watching him and getting to know him, I realized he was a laser focused, very good at what he does person. Now, whatever you think about the outcome is a completely different story. But we've all been on set and we've seen professionals and non-professionals. And this guy he knew exactly what he was doing. Something went wrong, there was a backup plan. This interview question, that led to this thing. I mean, and he was on point doing his job to the best of his capabilities. And I thought, man, you know, this is a good dude. I mean, he's headed in the right path with what he's supposed to do with life. The the show he did before that was Robbie Williams, and us Americans don't know who Robbie Williams is, nor do we care. But he is bigger than the Beatles in Europe, and he did a documentary with him. So I mean, that's what he does.
Actually, this is a perfect transition because you're talking about a director of feature films, Joe Perlman, doing great at his job. I know you've got your start in TV. Like, how did you get your start in TV? What was your initial plan? And take us through that journey.
So I went to film school. What, 99? No, I graduated in 2000. So I went to film school and then
Is
went
this after the army or before the army?
right before the army. Went went to film school, then realized I needed money for film school. So I joined the Army Reserves, then came back, and literally 3 days later, 9/11 happened. And I was like, oh shit, this is not why I signed up for this. You know, I was just trying to get money to go to school. Went to Iraq, came back, went back to film school, got the opportunity to go to Halliburton, which paid way more than waiting tables at Perry's restaurant. Came back and realized I had to make a decision. Like, do I want to go this military contractor route or back into the military? Or do I want to get my shit together and do something that I love? So it was an awakening for me because I wasn't a great soldier. I don't think anybody in television would be a good soldier because you're not meant to think creatively in the military. You're not meant to think of a better way to do something. You just do what you're told and you'll be successful. And I questioned authority. So, you know, I was constantly doing push-ups. So after my second deployment, I call it my second deployment. I'm like, I don't want to do contract work and I don't want to be in the military. So what is it that I want to do? And I got a job for an internship at a production house. And I was an intern for 6 months, unpaid. And then Hurricane Katrina happens and Oprah Winfrey comes in and rents out the studio for 2 weeks and makes that the whole studio was taken over by her team. And they hand over the books to her and basically from her, but from, you know, like production manager, whatever, nobody goes unpaid. This intern, where do we see him as? Associate producer, cool, he gets $40 an hour. And that was me. So all of a sudden I'm like, first of all, $40 an hour. How am I going to spend this money? Like, this is the most money I've ever had in my life. And again, only 2 weeks, but we were pushing out 16-hour days. And it was all about the Hurricane Katrina special because, you know, Hurricane Katrina had happened. The refugees got moved over to the Astrodome. And there was a big, you know, like story about what's next for them because you literally took them from the Thunderdome to the Astrodome. Now what? Went through all of that. So the first thing that goes on my resume is Oprah Winfrey. Well, then a show called Animal Planet comes online and I apply to it with one thing on my resume and it was an instant hire. And then from there, assistant camera operator for Chris Angel. So it's like celebrity name, Animal Planet, which is a show that went for 14 seasons. Animal Cops Houston went for 14 seasons and I was a part of season 4. So I could have really gotten stuck if I wanted to. Then go to Chris Angel. And then from there, it kind of, I'm blessed because Oprah Winfrey was a catalyst to my resume, be it as small as it is, and it's not nowhere near on my resume anymore. But it was the catalyst for what I had on my resume is having Harpo's name on it. Which I think caused me to stand out or at least get people's attention. And then from that point on, it was, you know, promotion after promotion. I don't want to say promotion, opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. So it was AC, then tech manager, then a junior camera operator, then producer shooter, then producer, then supervising producer, then producer shooter again, then supervising producer. And I danced around that for a while and then co-EP and then EP. And it's just like, I was just blessed and how that I would say to anybody, you know, like, how do I start? I would say the biggest springboard for me was being lucky enough to be at the right place, the right time, and work for Oprah Winfrey, because I feel like I don't know what would have happened without that name. Now, granted, I don't want to dismiss hard work. But I was truly blessed to be able to, start off with such um, powerhouses on my resume. Chris Angel was a big one back in the day. I mean, he's basically the face of Las Vegas.
Yeah, I
That's
remember him.
huge. I mean, just getting that first crack at the industry is amazing to start off like that because as a freelancer, you build on who you know and whatever the last job was that you did, and that's how you keep staying employed in the freelance world. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then it seems like you've found a rhythm with tough shows like First 48 and Live PD. Was that to do with your military background, or how did you get hooked up with those kind of jobs?
Well, I think I got typecasted. I mean, I know that we're not typecasted people, but okay, pure first example. I can't stand the fact that anytime you would see a job that you're perfectly qualified for, it would say only people with Bravo experience can apply. And I'm like, how do you get experience and work with you guys if you only hire people with experience? So, like, that would be my example of a typecast, because I was a shoe-in for Crime 360. And Crime 360, thanks to Rob Dorfman, a dude that took a chance on me when I didn't have really a whole lot of I didn't have any producer skills and very little camera skills. He put the two together as a producer shooter, and he gave me my start. After that, it was very easy to do nothing but law enforcement because it's like, oh, you did this show. Now you did police POV. Now you're going to go over here to do this show. And then now you're doing First 48. And it got to the point where I realized I've flooded the last 3 years of my resume, 4 years, maybe 6 years. I did 4 years of First 48, I think. I have flooded my resume with no diversity because I would go out there and try to apply for other jobs, and they weren't even looking at my resume because it was all law enforcement, law enforcement, law enforcement. And then my break came when I got the opportunity to do My First Home. So it was a build show, and it was a buying homes television show on HGTV. And that kind of broke the mold. And there were multiple times where I was hungry for work and I got the offer for another crime show. And I'm like, oh, do I do this? Or do I hope to, maybe in the next month I get something outside of that genre? Because I just needed to just not only be allowed to have crime shows, but it was easy for me to do crime shows because of my military background and you throw me in a car with a cop and we're going to be best friends. It's like, oh, is that a gun? What kind? Oh, that's dope. What's your MOA? And how far do you shoot your pistol? It was like, how fast can you run? I'm on steroids. What's up? So it was an easy relationship to have where cops liked riding with me. And I became a fan favorite of every city that I went to just because the personalities were. Cops are really apprehensive of being like, wait a minute, some random Hollywood guy is going to come in here with their soy latte and their scarf wrapped around their neck and everything. And they have these presuppositions of what to expect. And then you throw a guy like me in with beard and tattoos and doing steroids and talking about chicks. And they're like, yeah, let's go. So it was easy to get along with them. And it was a fun time in my life. I mean, I actually apprehended suspects before. I say suspects. It was one, but we got it all on camera, and it was a wild ride, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. But I'm extremely happy that I had some resolve to try to branch out of that, because I wouldn't have gotten to where I got in my career had I been a one-trick pony.
And how long were you on Live PD?
Well, Live PD specifically, I think I was only on for 6 months because we were on when it got canceled. And it was right when the George Floyd riots were happening, and some of the cops were getting injured because cameras were on their face. And then the whole A&E was like, we're done with this. We're done with all. I mean, A&E used to be the law enforcement show, and then they stopped. But I was with Big Fish for probably 3 years. I mean, you and I did Animal ER Live.
Yeah.
And then before that, I was doing Women on Patrol. And then I did Wanted. And then I did Live Wanted. And then I did Canine on Patrol. So I had been in the Big Fish family for a while. And then the crescendo of my career with Big Fish peaked and ended with Live PD. They called me back for whatever their new show was.
On Patrol Live.
Yeah, on Patrol Live when they regrouped. I think a year and a half later, 2 years later, 3 years later, I can't remember. I was already on Texas Metal. And I was working at home. And I was like, I appreciate it, but I'm gonna stay at home as long as I can.
Where did Texas Metal air?
It's oh my gosh, it's under Discovery Motor Trend.
Very cool. And
And I don't think
describe
Motor Trend exists anymore.
I have no idea. But I think we all know what the freelance life is like, but talk about the freelance life and bouncing around from show to show, living in random cities, always being on the road. Like, do you miss that? Like,
Not anymore. At the time, you couldn't have convinced me it wasn't the best life ever. You know, it takes a very specific person to be able to do that grind. And you have to think like when your show's over, your job's over. So a lot of us as producers, we get put up in housing and then we get a rental car and you get a per diem. Um, and then when that ends, you're homeless, carless, and you got to figure out where you're going next and when your next paycheck's going to come. And that's a very scary thing, even for well seasoned producers, I think. But the advantage that I take from that, because I don't even know how many jobs I've had at this point. Um, but being in this industry so long has showed me it has sharpened so many skills that I get to take with me into whatever's next. Well, if you think about it, the average person maybe stays at their company for 3 years. Okay, maybe. So one interview, 3 years of employment. We're doing 6 to 7 interviews a year, multiple times. So what that's taught you is you're honed in on people skills and how to interview. Then it also teaches you how to interview others. So you're not just the interviewer, you're the interviewee. So you learn these skills and I'm grateful for the opportunity. But if you want to like a broad strokes idea, it's like, know that you're going to get fired and you're constantly going to have to be applying. And I think for most people, that's petrifying and it should be, but every single time your show ends, your job ends, your career's for that moment is done. And you got to scrape and claw and try to figure out the next thing. So you got to stay hungry. You can't be passive, can't be too cocky, but you got to be confident. And there are times when not working is a very serious reality. I don't know who wants to jump into something like that. Like, how do you maintain a family or a life, or how do you pay for your mortgage knowing you're going to be fired? And it could be 2 weeks, it could be 6 months before you get your next gig. Those are the things that a freelance producer is used to.
Yeah, and so much is out of your control, right? Like show gets canceled, you know. Uh yeah, it's
100%.
when you put it the way you put it, it's like, God, why the fuck did I ever do this?
I think, I think if any of us ever really knew what the job was before we got into it, we might not have gotten into it. I think we were creating this as we were going. That's what I'm realizing is like we were in this time capsule that nobody had done this before. Like TV didn't exist the way it did when we started. We were creating it. We were forming it, defining the genres, defining the industry. It hadn't been done before. And we were out there just doing it.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Like I'll get a call from a mom. It's like, hey, my son's interested in getting into television and directing. Would you mind speaking to him? And that's one of the first things that I think of is like, do I want to recommend this to somebody?
All the time. I get that all the time, like, "Really?" And I don't mean to sound mean, but I do kinda size up the kid, like, "Can they take it? Like, are they built for this?"
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
No.
I always tell them no. Like, get a real college degree, don't go to film school, do whatever. If you want to do this, you got it in the palm of your hand. That's today's TV. That's today's Wild West. That's today's unscripted or reality TV. And today's cable is in the palm of your hand and do that. Control
And
it.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, there's no point in my life that I have regrets or wouldn't be like, man, I shouldn't have done that, because I can look back and go, man, I loved every moment of it. I'm proud of it. But it sounds cocky, and I don't want to sound arrogant about this, but I'm like, I got lucky, but I don't know too many people that can do that. And I mean that from a humble way, is that I don't recommend what I did to too many people, but I loved what I did when I was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Amen
there's
to
a whole
that.
lot of
Yeah.
luck and a lot of late nights working that made it all work out. But I also feel like I dodged a bullet. I dodged a bullet. I mean, I have EPs that I'm friends with that haven't worked in 2 years. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, the industry has definitely changed in the last couple years. Indeed. So I mean, the appeal, I understand if, Liver King says, "Hey, I have this job for you." I could understand why that would be so appealing.
Um, there was a lot of things that tantalized me. Um, it was the freedom to create on my own, the freedom to build a company, the ability to stay at home. And I believe, I guess, and again, I referenced this earlier, but the safety net for me was always, "Oh, if this doesn't work out, I could go back to television." And to be truthful, it's like, now I don't think that safety net is there. So if my ventures with LK end, I mean, I've got to think to myself, what did I do? What do I do now? What's my next play? Because, um, I mean, I've been out of the game for 2.5 years. Technically, because I've been on with Texas Metal and then Texas Metal Loud and Lifted, I've been out of the rotation for 5 years. And in television, everybody that I've worked with, minus you, Jen, my name is a forgotten memory. You've got to stay relevant in the industry. It's like, oh, I just got off of this show. I worked with this guy. I recommend him. He's great. That's how you get your next gig. And vice versa. And me being out of the game for 5 years, although I'm proud of my resume, I don't think it holds weight right now. Still, I think to myself, okay, if my adventures with LK ends tomorrow, what's my play? And I think it's open ended. I don't think I have an answer for it. I'm trying some new things out. I'm discovering. I'm trying to be a sponge and learn as much as I can. But um, yeah, that initial thought of, well, I always have a safety net I could go back to, my career, I don't think is relevant anymore.
I feel everything you just said is so spot on right now. Like Jen and I worked together on a show, and it took me off the freelance market for, shit, I want to say 18 months. I don't know if that's right or not, but it's moving so quick, and all those people that you'd go to, hey, I'm free, I'm available, they're gone, man. Like a lot of those companies have shut down or they've downsized, and yeah, it's a scary thing. I mean, that's one of the reasons, Jen and I started doing this, was like, it's that whole thing in this new world. It's not back channeling or networking. It's visibility, and doing this and getting out there and just being visible, being top of mind. Hopefully that puts us in a good position, but it's also, hopefully this thing builds to a point where we don't need to go to do that. But you were so spot on with that. It's so hard right now. It is, and there's so many people, so many really really talented producers that I know that like you, they haven't worked in 24 months, and that safety net is disappearing.
Well, and I think what you guys are doing is incredible, because you're venturing out, and I'm a big fan of saying success comes in the moments of uncomfortability. And when it's uncomfortable and you don't know, that's when I think you should take the leap of faith. For me, going back to LK and why would I leave a guaranteed thing? Well, the guaranteed thing became very comfortable. I could show up. You have to understand, I was, 3 years on the main show, and then 1 year on the spinoff show. I could show up with my eyes closed and know exactly what to do. So that was a safe and easy bet. It was venturing into the unknown, where it's like, fuck, I don't know if this is going to work out. I think it's twofold. Part of it is a leap of faith, but part of it is also because you don't know if it's going to work out. You're trying harder. And I missed that part about me in television, where like my whole life was wrapped into this show in this moment. How do I make it amazing? After 20 years of doing it, it became easy. It became common. And that passion to be the best slowly faded away. And I think what you guys are doing is incredible because you're jumping into the unknown, taking a leap of faith, but you're betting on yourselves. And there's no better place to be in life than to be courageous enough to say, I'm betting on me this time. Fuck the network, fuck the executive producers that are going to tell me how to do my job. I'm going to create a vision that's solely mine. And if it's good, hell yeah. If it's not, I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to get better. But it's going to be my vision this time and mine alone.
That is well said. I love that. And you know what? We adapt. I mean, I think all of us have been in this situation on a new show and a new crew, new demands, new formats, new genre, whatever. And you're like, how do we do this? We are constantly in that position of how do we do this? Let's figure it out. And our true skill is adaptability,
Yes.
but also just being, I mean, I got in this business because I'm genuinely curious about people and I love telling stories. So to me, a podcast is just a different format to tell a story. It's just a different way to do it. It's more campfire, like let's sit around and just talk. I love it.
And I'll say
Yeah.
this, Justin, when we thought when we were studying this, like it was going to be quick, things were going to go fast. Our first episode, we're like 56 hours into editing still. So it doesn't move
Are you
quite as fast
serious?
as we thought it would. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it's just some
Well,
learning, just some learning stuff, just learnings, right? Like something new. And that's the kind of entrepreneurial spirit, of us both. It's like just trying to get in and learn, right? That's learning the whole thing, going to Real Screen, going to different conferences and I'm more interested in talking to the influencers than I am the TV people. You're all dead to me. But these YouTubers, hey man, so
aw,
how's it work? What are you doing? Like it's and that's what it's been. It's been a fun year of just really learning and diving in and just doing that really deep dive. And I talked to a guy the other day who has the second most watched YouTube channel in the United States, and they're making 2 million a month, and they don't do any ad reads, they don't do any of that. They just it's just it's just right from YouTube. It's just this dude and his daughter running around doing little challenges and fun little things, and yeah, $2 million a month.
That's incredible. We did I'd never done a podcast before, and LK wanted to do a podcast. So me and Garrity figured it out on our own, made a whole entire podcast studio, coolest room I've ever seen in my life. And it's now LK's favorite room and that he's converted to his man cave. We do 6 episodes, and with LK's name, there comes a lot of weight in the contacts that he's met. So I was put in touch with some of the best in the business. And I got lessons from all of these people. And as you guys are sitting there saying, listen, the podcast never aired, so I don't know if it was good or not. And I'll never have that validation. Like, did this turn out to be something that is watchable? But the 2 things that I did learn that I wanted to just throw my one piece of advice out there, as you hear you saying, you're 55 minutes into an edit. Don't worry about polishing it. Let your audience polish it for you. Like, put it out there, get feedback, and then correct after a little bit of feedback. And the one way to become successful in the podcast space is stay true, but stay consistent. So most people end up killing off the show because they got to episode 12 and they still haven't seen increased viewership. And some of the biggest podcasters out there was like, dude, people don't know this about me, but I've been doing this for 2 years before it actually started to catch wind. If you stay consistent long enough, you will become successful. And I wish I had had that opportunity to see if 6 would have been good enough, and then 12 would have been good enough. And then also gotten feedback on my first 6. What are our thoughts? Where could I have changed a few things here, there, and that? So if you stay in the game long enough and you're receptive to what your viewers are saying back to you, I think you guys are going to be very successful. Very successful.
that's great advice. And it's different than a TV mindset where you kind of have to be perfect out of the gate and get everything and nail it and smash it because everything costs $50,000 a day versus, hey, there's low overhead other than our time, and you just have to play with it and stick with it. It's just a very different mentality than the TV world that we come from.
Yeah. And this is a crazy thing. I was mentoring this kid, 18-year-old kid, called me out of nowhere. It's a long story. Won't get into all of that, but I was so impressed by his brazenness to reach out to me and call me because somehow he got my cell phone and wouldn't let up about how can I do this and how can I be successful. And I finally just told him, I'm like, bro, you have 42 different podcasts where you interview somebody on the phone and you have 450 followers and you haven't hit it. Um, Here's my advice for you moving forward with your thumbnails and this, and your clips really need to have triple and quadruple the views so that they move to here, and you use this platform to promote so that people go to here. But at this point, delete your page, start over again. Like, why not? That you have 500, 400 people that are following you. What does it matter if that's gone or not? And if they really do like you. So I don't know if I'm giving the kid the right advice or not. I swear to God. But I said, hey, listen, you don't have to take my advice, but when you hit 1,000, call me up and I'll talk to you again. But in the meantime, please don't call me. He took my advice, deleted his page, started from scratch, and he's got 1,500 followers now. And I was like, man, I don't know if what I was saying was right. I was just speaking from the heart, with a man that doesn't have much experience. But I'm like, what's great about what you were just saying, Jen, is it's like, it's so different from television where it doesn't have to be polished. And, you throw out a couple and it's not working, delete it, start again. It's that simple. It's that easy. And you haven't wasted 50,000 for a day sheet, It's the internet. A lot more forgiving than Sweets Week.
And tell us what you're doing now these days. You're doing something very different.
I am a checkout at a grocery store. I'm the clerk that checks people's groceries out. I say that tongue in cheek, but it's kind of it. So I'm about 40 days away from opening a country store. And the country store is also a wine bar. So country store and wine bar. We're going to have 4 miniature donkeys and 2 mini cows. They're named Milk and Honey. Haven't gotten them yet, but I know their names. And we're creating in front of the business, which is, all the supplements and everything. The production house that we used to work out of, we have converted, gutted, and remodeled into being a country store where we are going to be serving farm to table foods so that you can take home with you. So typical country store, but we refuse to have refined sugars, dyes, and seed oils. So I've been sourcing from local vendors. I just inked a deal the other day with a brand new company from Houston that is making tallow potato chips. So it's just potato chips fried in tallow with sea salt. So the idea is LK's mantra was always he wants to change the trajectory of human health. And he did that by, trying to inspire people to ground, connect, cold, eat, shield, sleep, eat. I didn't do wrong. But to live a better life, give people the option, like put down the candy, eat a piece of steak, that kind of thing. And what we're doing is we're opening a country store that is literally the embodiment of that, giving people the option to choose something differently. Because ever since COVID, because America lost their damn mind and thought that toilet paper was going to cure everything, so toilet paper sold out. Ever since then, there's been a bigger movement or a bigger curiosity behind homesteading, being self-sufficient, and what are we putting into our bodies, right? So there's this niche now where a bunch of people, even way before me, and we're already in tuned with, like, I've got an extra acre. I'm going to eat the potatoes from my garden, or I'm going to eat the spinach that I grow because it's not sprayed with pesticides. People are really starting to want to own chickens now. That's the biggest thing. Like the chicken boom, everybody wants 4 chickens so that they can have eggs whenever, and good for them. We want to provide a place that allows you to come and know that whatever you're shopping for in this location is safe and it's good, doesn't have chemicals, it doesn't have all the processed food. LK's mantra was always putting back in what the modern world left out. Our mantra will be taking out what the modern world put in. And it's a chance to get back to Whole Foods, even though Whole Foods doesn't even sell Whole Foods, but it's a chance to get back to that. And then the idea would be, depending on certain SKUs and what we have in the store, to really upscale and go to direct to consumer. And nobody's better than the CEOs that are in charge of his company to guide me in the way of how we can make D2C, direct to consumer products available and successful. So it's an experiment. And, I hope that it goes well. But even if it's not one of these home runs, for the first time in my life, when I first signed on with LK, I supported his mission through social media. Now I can have my own mission and support it from my own work. Like I am the direct provider of attempting to bring awareness and change the trajectory of human health. Give people another option. And the country store's not associated with him. There's no like, he's not going to be standing outside with a shirt. Come on, get your meat. He's not going to, we're not going to be marketing with him. He just had enough faith in me that I pitched an idea and he's like, dude, run with it. And gave me enough money to do what I needed to do. And I hope that I'm successful. I hope that I'm successful to prove my thought right. But I hope that I'm successful because if I am, then with the community that surrounds us, I'll be allowing them to have a healthy alternative to going to the grocery store and picking up something as simple as a bag of chips fried in canola oil. It starts with small steps and moves on from there.
What's the name of the store? Where is it opening?
Ranch Revival it's called Ranch Revival, but it's Ranch Revival Country Store and Wine Bar. And, I had to throw in the wine because I have a love for wine. And there's a room where you can sit down and enjoy a glass of wine, eat some food. Once a week, I'm thinking I'm going to release the mini goats. Sorry. Release the mini goats into the store so that like it's kind of chaotic in there. And there's 4 little mini goats running around in the store. Because a lot of it is I learned what's viral on the internet. And I'm like, this is adorable. Who doesn't love watching the mini goats, running up and chasing after you when they're the size of poodles, and chihuahuas.
Are the little bouncing goats the ones that jump?
Fainting ones that just like
so cute.
But it's part marketing by having them, but it's also a connection to this is what we're trying to get people connected back to. Getting back to farm to table, barrel to glass, living off the land, and here's options for you. And then the wine reason is I love wine. Sorry, there's nothing healthy about it. I love wine. Why not? Come have a glass of wine.
Maybe the grapes are stepped on. Maybe the grapes are stepped on by organic feet. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or little goat feet. The little goats mash up the grapes.
Yeah.
I will so come to your store. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I'm just, again, it could all go away tomorrow. I don't know, but I am so blessed to still have an opportunity. And it's even cooler that, listen, we've all been on television where we had to take a show that we didn't want to go on because, financially it's like, okay, I need to do this show. Right. For me, this is not that. Did I ever think that at 43, I'd be opening quote unquote a grocery store? Hell no, never. Am I so grateful that I get the opportunity to try something new and learn. As I'm speaking to you about this right now, it almost makes me feel that moment when 2.5 years ago, when I made the transition from doing television to jumping on with LK, where it's like, oh, I'm nervous as hell. But I know because I'm so nervous and scared of failure that I'm going to work twice as hard to make it successful. And if I fail, I'll learn and I'll figure out what's next. And do I know what's next after this? No clue. No fucking clue what I will do if the country store doesn't work, but I'll put one foot in front of the other and I'll figure it out as I go.
That's all you
Where
can
is this
do,
store
right?
located?
Conroe. Technically Montgomery, which I found out when filing permits, we are literally on the line, which made things very difficult. But yeah, we're Conroe, Texas. We're just off the lake.
Outside of Austin, right?
No. It's Houston, so it goes Houston, Woodlands, Conroe.
Got you.
It's all considered greater. I mean, Woodlands is considered greater Houston. But so if you're in Houston, it's depending on where you're in Houston's 45-minute drive. And there's opportunities. If this does well, we open up another one, and another one, and another one. And I don't want to be a materialistic guy, but I like money. It'd be great to have this be successful and have the opportunity to open another and then open another.
And to me, that's a really cool way to get to make money, and it's a great way to make money because it's all about health. I love the whole idea. I love the concept of it with farm to table and your chips that are getting rid of seed oils and the food dyes and all that stuff because it's all really just amazing how much poison we get in our diet here in America.
Yeah, I mean we have goat's milk soap, olive oil soap, tallow soap. We have chemical free. I don't want to call it Lysol, but like all the house cleaning products, chemical free detergent and laundry detergent and dishwashing detergent and all those types of things. Really great Epsom salts. It's not just, okay, you get your beef here and your eggs here. It's a lifestyle in one store. That I don't think even people, it's like people will go out of their way to eat organic, but then use chemical ridden laundry detergent that then gets absorbed into your skin. And listen, you can be hypercritical of it. Does it make a difference? Who knows? But I'd rather err on the side of, if this gets stuff clean, I'll go the pure route versus the chemical route. Because there's so many, we live in a modern age where our cell phones are always on. And if there's anything that we could do to combat that, let's try and do that. And the smallest, easiest thing is, switching up, not having seed oils and dyes and refined sugars.
What about for soap? You have the Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap.
Oh, I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. I'm sorry. I mean, that would, well played to them. Well played. Didn't it sell out?
Sold out. Yeah. Yeah. It is brilliant. I mean, I can't believe
Wait,
it.
what are
but
you
yeah.
talking about? I missed that one.
Sydney Sweeney,
Sweeney.
the actress.
Yes.
She took a bath, and then Squatch, I believe is the name of the company. They made bars of soap out of her bathwater.
Oh,
They didn't
int-
actually make it out of her bathwater, I don't think. I think that could cross the line with FDA rules. Is it FDA? FFA? I don't know, but
FDA.
they-
Yeah, FDA.
yeah.
Yeah,
so
I don't know what's
they
legit or not.
marketed it as the bar of soap is called Sydney Sweeney's bathwater. Now, I don't think her actual bathwater is in it, but they marketed it that way and they sold out instantly. And I'm like, I'm going to remember that ploy. I remember that one. Now, I would never jump on that. Oh my God, she's hot. I've got to have a bar of soap. I'm not that guy. But good
what
on
about the
her.
20-year-old steroid using version of you?
The what?
The 20-year-old steroid using version of you. Would you have been that guy?
I'd have sold her out. I'd have bought all of them just to support the cause because I'm a noble connoisseur of female. That was what the 20-year-old would have said.
oh my gosh. Well, this all sounds very healthy, and I'm going to come to your store. I'm going to come out there. I haven't been in Texas in a little while, but we'll come out there. We'll do a podcast out in Texas because that seems to be where all the podcasts are these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll come out, but it sounds very healthy and positive. It just has a good vibes to it.
If I had the opportunity to, I'd love to continue in the space where I'm doing good, but I don't want to sound altruistic if that opportunity isn't there anymore. My priority is to taking care of my family and making a successful life for us. So I'm happy that I get to potentially make money for a good cause, but I don't want to sound like I'm not opposed to. My whole life is dedicated to good causes. Now this is a great opportunity, but if this isn't here, man, figure out another grind. And will it be in the health and wellness space? I don't know.
Well, you're trying it out and
Yeah.
you don't know if it works for you, to be mission driven or whatever until you try it and you're trying it. So I think it sounds fun though.
No, it is. It is. Well, the thing that I love about it the most is because it's just me trying to figure things out. I'm creating things. I'm designing things. And at the end of the day, I think all of us in television, our passion is creating. You know, there is times when, when I'm not working and I'm in between shows, after about a 4-day, 5-day decompression, it's like, oh, I'm going to sleep and I'm going to order pizza in my pajamas and just relax. I start to get stir crazy. And the things that would always allow the gap between shows to give me what's the word of self-satisfaction and feel worthy is creating. So I would build stuff. I would start a new project in my backyard. It's like, okay, I'm going to design this here and I'm going to separate this and I'm going to go buy these plants. And then hopefully the vision in my head comes out and then I do the manual labor. Well, at the end of the day, I realized I can only be stagnant for so long. I have to get back into creating things. As creators, I think that's what drives us. And for me, every touch point of this country store, I get to create. I see a design in my mind where I want the wine wall, and then I do it, and I'm like, yeah, that didn't come out the way that I wanted it to. Okay, I need to move this here and here. And then at the end of the day, it's like, it's Tom Hanks, Castaway. Look what I have created. You know, it's like that moment where he's like, man creates fire. It's like when I finish a project, that's how I feel. It's like, I did this, whether it's good or not, whatever, but I did it.
Amazing. And how is the Liver King doing um since the last time we saw him a couple weeks ago, I guess?
That would have been the Joe Rogan adventure.
Yes, it was a
Yeah,
little worrisome,
that
but
was
I hope
that was a that was a fun time. I was there, and that's not my story to tell, but that was spring break 1999, guys. It was good times. But then he has, I mean, he's retired from social media a while ago, but he's not even filming himself. He's probably the best I've seen him in a long time. He is solely focused on his family. He's hanging out with them 24/7. He's got Father Sunday on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where, you know, they're now going to, it's fucking crazy, but he'll take them to a fast food place and go, all right, what do you want to try? If you haven't tried it, you need to at least try. And then be like, all right, do you feel better? You know, is this better than your home cooked meals? Your chef inspired cooked meals? So he is living life away from outside influences and business meetings on a daily basis, and he's really dove into being a family man and being a father. I think one of the bigger things is his kids are getting old. I mean, his oldest is 18 now, and his youngest is 16. And, you know, to a parent, you're on borrowed time before those kids leave, you know? And I think that that's become apparent to him. And, you know, LK's always been on a spiritual journey. Some higher spiritual journeys in some circumstances. And I think he's been on a spiritual journey to figure out what this universe is all about, what we're made of, what's the purpose. And I think, um, especially since more so since, you know, the Austin Rogan thing, I think he's really settled into my spiritual journey as being the best version I can to my four swords, my family, you know, the bond, one of the tenets. It's always been one of his tenets. And, you know, he's doing great. He's not working at it. He's lost weight. He even told me how much weight. I won't put it out there. It's his story to tell. He told me how much weight he's lost because he's like, I stay active all day long, but getting up and doing 2 blood burning workouts is not a priority for me anymore. You know, walking with my wife hand in hand with our feet touching the ground, that's the priority. Taking his kids to go eat, you know, Burger King, and then playing Mario Kart. I got called over to his house the other day and he's like, you want to play Mario Kart? And I'm like, you are fucked up, bro. I grew up on Mario Kart. Let's go. Turns out they've got the new Switch and like 2025 version of Mario Kart, which is nothing like the SNES that we grew up on. You know, Mario Kart version 1, Mario Kart version 2. Oh, he kicked my ass. I went in there talking a big game, thinking, bro, in the 90s, I lived, ate, and breathed Mario Kart, and he spanked me. And to come over to his house and see him playing Mario Kart with his kids, and then they went out and bought freaking go-karts that go like 50 miles an hour. So after they play Mario Kart, he's got a really big property. They chase each other around in the go-karts.
Great.
And it's just like, oh my God, you were living the best life ever. So he is completely invested in his family. And I'm very jealous of how his day is spent. Like he lives on a lake. So I got lucky enough that he's like, hey man, after our meeting, you want to go jump on the jet skis? And I'm like, obviously. And I forgot. I mean, it's been 15 years since I've been on a jet ski. And he's got the best jet skis that there are, right? Okay, because he's the Liver King. And these things go 75 miles an hour. And I jumped on one.
whoa.
And we finally met up. And my forearms were sore from just holding on to him. And I was like, listen, I've got a new business. All right. We can cure addiction to SRIs. Just buy them a jet ski and all depression will be cured. This is the future, bro. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. You know, I was like, but I got to laugh and have a fun time. And I'm 43 years old. I'm focusing on opening a business that I know nothing about. I'm moving, I'm I'm moving 1,000 miles an hour. And then in one moment, I was reminded of how fun the world could be by getting on a damn jet ski, you know? So if he's doing that daily, he's living a good life.
Well, it sounds like you're living your best life right now too.
Well, I got 1 hour, but I will take what I can, you know? I you know what? Yes, Jen, you're absolutely right. Thank you for pointing that out.
You are. You've done a lot in your adult life, your 43 years of life. This is your third career, kind of. Yeah. Third iteration, third chapter, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah, I am truly blessed. Um, I mean, blessed enough to sit here and be like, "Hey, let's thank you for inviting me on the podcast." And if I can give out some advice, I don't know why people would listen to me, but if the mistakes that I made in my life can inspire people not to make those mistakes, that's a blessed life. That is. Thank you for pointing it out.
Absolutely. We appreciate you sharing your experiences with us and giving us your time. And I've learned a lot from you today and really enjoyed talking to you.
Yes, and I think that you guys are going to kill it. You guys both have great personalities. You play off each other really well, and more importantly, you're not only providing entertainment, you're providing value. And that was the two things we started off with when we jumped into social media: provide value, provide entertainment. I think you guys are killing it.
One last thing, man.
Yeah,
What can we expect from producer Justin? What's producer Justin gonna what's next? What's coming out? What can we watch?
I think producer Justin is retired.
Okay.
Um, I don't have any irons in the fire. I would jump back into the ring again if I'm given the opportunity. I wrote a documentary um, 2 years ago, and it's called A Wine Story. And I would jump back into that given the opportunity to. Um, I would go back and put my producer hat on. Um, so I don't think you would. I wouldn't expect to see much more from producer Justin. We're done with socials. You know, with LK, we've been done for a little while. If you see socials, it's not from me. It's from his phone, and it's his story to tell, and it's all on him uploaded. But I'm trying to have a family. I'm moving homes, creating a business I know nothing about, and pretty chaotic, but I'm optimistic. Um, I guess because I'm betting on myself. And if I fail, I no longer have to say I've been mistreated and I've been given injustice because they couldn't do their job right. I get the opportunity that if I fail, it's on me, and how do I pick up the pieces? So um jumping into a very unknown world. Um, but therein lies the excitement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well
Absolutely.
said.
Yeah.
And what is living unless you're taking a chance anyway, right?
Yes. Yes. So when I met my wife, my version of living was driving a motorcycle 125 miles an hour on the coast of Hawaii and doing twisties. That was my version of living. Now I don't take risks like that. I just take risks in the success of our own livelihood. I guess.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Those are my adventures, is doing something I don't know much about and hopefully learning and not feeling too bad.
Is the country wine store, is that gonna have a social channel?
Is
You
it
be doing
what's
some
that?
fun content? The country wine store, is that gonna have a social channel?
So good, bruh. You're killing me because I'm back and forth. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity to educate people. So I am the only person, I ordered refrigeration that won't fit through our door. And the contractors are sitting there, they're like, I don't know if we could get this in here and we have this much tolerance, but how do we even pull it? I'm like, this is a perfect moment to record. And then I turned the camera to myself and I'm like, day one of building a country store. And then the second I did playback, I was cringe seeing myself. And I want nothing to do with the spotlight or seeing my face on camera, or it feels like if I'm trying to give out a message, I don't want to be the one doing it. I would love to direct. somebody else to do it and critique other people's work, but I want nothing to do with being the center focus, because as a 20-year veteran in reality television, I've seen what it can do to a person and corrupt them. And everybody starts off season one wanting to help you. And thank you so much. We'll talk about the talent. And they get a little bit high on themselves. And by season three, they're fucking monsters. And I just I don't want to see myself in front of the camera. I don't want to put in the effort to try to make myself look good when it's all about the country store. So yeah, we're gonna have socials. But I don't know what kind of socials we'll have. It won't be. I'll put it to you this way. I feel like I have a well enough understanding of what could make good content on YouTube, and I feel like there's content there. I want nothing to do with it personally.
Fair enough.
Well, best of luck to you, Justin. We're totally rooting for you, and I can't wait to come see your store.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to send you guys an invite and take pictures, and we'll have a social media page up there that'll be fun, and you'll get to see some behind the scenes. It just won't have me in it.
But yeah, not do the ribbon cutting or the grand opening.
Well, I guess we could do a ribbon cutting. No, see, ours would be a ribbon shooting in Texas style. First ever
Yeah.
ribbon
That's
cutting.
that's so organic. Oh, I
Love it.
love it.
I'm gonna get fired before it even opens.
But you're the boss. You
I
can't.
know, but the funny thing is yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna go there.
Oh gosh, I love it. Well, thank
That's
you
fun.
so much, and let's be in touch, and we'll have to do round two. And
Yes.
once the stores open, we'll check in with you and
Well, you guys are
see.
awesome. I'm grateful for the opportunity. So thank you very much for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys
Thank
take
you.
care.
Bye.